Hello and welcome to today's Q&A here on Instagram and also recording on YouTube. And today's topic is, what is my worth? When I can't contribute at work, when I can't contribute at home, I can't contribute with my kids. What is my worth? When I feel like I can't contribute the way I want to. And I sometimes feel worthless. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge, if this is your experience, that it's okay to feel this way. This is a valid experience. And it's not a strange experience thinking that we live in a society that values being able to contribute, being able to produce something, being able to do stuff, to tick off boxes. We live in a society that values that very highly, and that equates being able to do all those things with being worthy. Now, that doesn't mean that that is where your worth lies, right? Many years ago, it was probably 9 or 10 years ago by now, a therapist asked me, where does your worth lie? And I realized I couldn't answer that question. And I started crying because it felt horrible not to know what my worth was and where I had my worth. And I'm not alone in this experience, especially for us women, having grown up believing that we have to be the good girl in order to be enough, in order to feel loved, in order to be liked, be part of the group, all kinds of things. And so what do? We become the perfectionists that strive towards doing everything perfectly, more or less. Because we keep getting rewards for that. We get rewards in the form of grades. The higher you achieve, the higher score you achieve on a test, the higher your score. And whether you want to or not, this has an impact psychologically. And we live in a society that says, oh, higher grades are better than lower grades, or even flunking. And this is challenging, growing up with all of this, because we are human beings who adapt to our environment. And this affects us, of course. Let's see, I need my glasses to see what I wrote down here. And so what do we do when we have this experience of feeling worthless? It's not a very comfortable experience. We might want to just push it away, and that rarely works. If we try to push an experience away, what often happens is it will come back to us even stronger, because most of the time the inner experiences that we have, there is a reason behind, there's a positive intention behind them. So if we try to get rid of it, then that positive intention will try even harder to communicate whatever it is that experience is trying to communicate. And there's this thing that says, feel your feels. Feelings are meant to be felt. They're meant to move through us. There's another thing that says emotions are energy in motion. And what I mean by that is that when we feel our emotions, when we feel those things, those internal experiences, we can allow them to move through us instead of having them getting stuck inside of us. And sometimes people around us might say, when we tell them, when we share it with them, I feel worthless. They might say, oh, but you're not worthless. And this can be challenging, because what happens there is that first, you're not seen in your experience. And then all of a sudden you feel guilty because I'm having this experience, but this person is telling me that I'm not having it, so it must be wrong. And this is not something that we consciously do. This is something that happens unconsciously. And I just wanted to mention this because this is something that can happen with other experiences as well. When you're sharing something about being in this situation where you feel worthless, when you feel like, oh, I feel so bad, I feel like a bad parent, I feel like a bad partner or whatever, and people say, oh, but you're not. I just want to awaken that thought and share that thought with you, in case you've heard that and it makes you feel like shit. Then you know why that feels like shit. So remember, all of your emotions, all of your inner experiences are valid because they're your truth, right? Again, all of your inner experiences, all of your emotions are valid. They are your truth. We don't need to hear from anyone else whether this is true or not, or valid or not, because what other people think, what other people's opinions are, is not relevant. So what do we do with this experience? Well, one of them is feel it, acknowledge it, and feel it. Notice where in your body you feel this experience and just be with it for a while. And this is something that takes practice. Doing this practice of feeling that emotion in your body, noticing where it is, allowing it to be there, being with that discomfort, because it can be very uncomfortable. And if this experience is part of your life, I also want to touch upon depression, because that usually goes hand in hand with depression. And people that experience fatigue, especially if you've experienced fatigue for a very long time, it's not uncommon that depression is part of this. And there's no easy solution to depression. There's no easy solution to feeling worthless. It takes work to change this, to shift this, because oftentimes there is a lot behind this experience. There is a lot that lies in the root of this experience. And even though it would be nice if we could just take a pill and it would all go away, that may be the case for a short period of time, but in the long run, it's not going to solve the problem. In the long run, what it does, it just puts the lid on the problem. And the way I work with this is I want people to feel good inherently in the long run, in a way that is lasting. And that's why when I work with people with these kind of things, it's deep work. And sometimes it takes time. But the purpose of that, of doing the deep work and allowing it to take time, is that we want it to last. We don't want it to be this thing that just lasts for a while and then you go back to the way it was beforehand. So I'm going to start rounding up here, and I want to leave you with a practice that might help you start thinking a little bit different. And that is the question, what would life be like if you felt worthy? What would you do if you felt worthy? How would you behave towards yourself? How would you behave towards your partner or your children or your friends if you felt worthy? And what does that mean to you to feel worthy? That is a practice that I'm going to give you today, because somewhere inside of us there is that wisdom that we are worthy, regardless of what we do, regardless of what we don't do, regardless of who we are, who we're not, what we say, what we don't say. Because we are born inherently worthy. Take a newborn infant, for instance, that wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and is hungry. That infant is not gonna think, oh, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I wonder if it's okay to wake my mom and tell her that I'm hungry. That infant is gonna cry because that infant is hungry, period. Hungry, cry, food. That's it. That infant knows that when I'm hungry, I have a right to be fed. When I'm tired, I have a right to sleep. When I feel alone and not comfortable, I have a right to be cuddled. So we're born with this wisdom that we are inherently worthy. And then things come along the way, changing that belief that we are worthy. So I'm going to leave you with this and hope this was useful for you. And if you're interested in doing the deep work and changing this, in moving from feeling worthless, from having this experience as part of your life, which is very common, to a place where you feel worthy, where you don't value who you are by what you do. You don't value your worth by what you're capable of doing, how you can show up in life. So you can head on over to the link in my bio if you're interested in working with me, where you can book a discovery call or apply for my one-on-one coaching program, Blissful Living. Okay, so we're going to finish like I usually do with 3 deep breaths. And if you feel called to it, if it feels okay for you to put one hand over the heart and one over the belly, and if you don't feel like it, that's okay too. And take a deep breath in. And breathing out. And as you breathe out, letting go whatever is ready to be let go of. And then breathing in again. And allowing that out breath to be a sigh. Just notice what happens when you do that. And one last time, breathing in. And breathing out, sighing. Okay, loves. Mwah. Take good care, and I will see you next week.